Hello, hello. Today is April 23rd, 2024. This is SIG Node weekly meeting. Welcome, everybody. Today on agenda, first item is from me. I just wanted to let people know that I started the first draft of our annual report for 2023. It's already April, so it's a little bit late, so you need to remember what was happening in 2023. If you want to highlight anything from a past year that may be important for you to have an annual report, please let me know or comment. You can reach me out privately or comment on the PR directly. There is also not ideal list of caps because cap list is generated from cap YAMLs and not all cap YAMLs are up to date. So if you see any problems there, please also let me know. And next items for annual report will be cleanup of owners files and clean up README and contributing MD. I think last year we updated them quite enough, so I don't expect many changes there. Anyway, yeah, please comment and help if you can. And next item is about swap.
Before we go to that one, did we finish the cap planning? I remember that I think we got halfway through.
Yeah, we haven't finished.
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that was my question as well. So, are we going to continue that today or at a later point?
Bruno, do you want to comment on that?
Are you sharing the screen? Because
yeah, we can probably continue. Peter, do you want to continue from where we left off last week?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Let me share my screen and pull up the document.
There's the only question: do you want to go through some items on the agenda first, or we want to just continue cap preview? It works really well for me.
Yeah, I guess the question is there anything that's more sort of urgent than cap planning?
Or we go up to like maybe 10:40 and then leave time for the other items.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Can I have host to share?
You got it.
Thank you. I'm finding the window. This one. Okay, here we go. So let me try to remember where we made it to last time. I should have made a note about this.
C groups.
Thank you, Marcus.
C groups deprecation, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yes, here we go. Awesome. Thank you. Yes. So, Harshal, do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, I updated the. Yeah, we need to rename that to say maintenance mode, and updated the cap as well today morning.
Yeah, I think so. Don posted a comment summarizing the discussion the leads had among themselves. So I think we are set. So the summary is like it will be in maintenance mode. We will go back to deprecation after some time. We'll fix only critical security issues. Other bugs, we'll try to fix them if we can. And if a bug depends upon a change in the kernel, most likely that won't happen. And no new features will be added to V1, which kind of you've been doing that already. But this is explicitly stating that.
Yeah, I have updated the cap with those points as well.
Awesome. Do we want to, I could be a reviewer for this. Do we want to assign an approver? Or any other reviewers?
Maybe Sergey or Manal could be an approval.
Maybe you can put Dawn as the approver because she was looking into it. I can be the backup.
May I ask, in this task, is it also included all these things that we were saying to go through the tests and see where it is being used, cgroup v1, and update them?
So the KEP breaks the task in three parts, three stages: alpha, beta, and GA. So alpha, we are planning to just add a metric which tells the user what is the cgroup version on the host, and also a small log and event when the kubelet starts if it detects that it's in cgroup v1, telling the user that cgroup v1 is in maintenance mode. There's a small refactor where certain code assumes cgroup v1 to be default. We want to invert that logic that we will do in alpha, but in beta we want to. So right now cgroup manager has no implementation for v1 v2 specific implementation. So we want to have that in place. Right now, there is just one single implementation for that interface. And wherever we need to take a decision for V1 and V2, we are just doing if else there. So that we can, in future, the idea behind it is that in future, we can streamline, completely understand what is in maintenance mode and what part of the code is not in maintenance mode. So that we will handle in beta. And then once we are satisfied with all the CI jobs and this code goes in after a few releases, we will add into official documentation that the cgroup v1 mode is maintenance mode, and that will be the GA for this KEP. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks. Great plan, thanks.
I think we can debate the details a bit in the KEP, but I think we know the big picture of what we want to do. The details of whether we want a flag or not, that can be discussed in the KEP further.
Great. Sounds good. Any other notes on this one? Alrighty, moving on. Marcus, pass down resources.
Yes, I'm working on this one with this one code. We have a separate kind of agenda item on that. So we have a few slides plus a demo, so we can talk it in more detail there. But I think from our perspective, this is important change, especially for the Kata and confidential computing usage scenarios. And we have for the implementation perspective have bandwidth for this. Then the question is, of course, about the SIG Node review bandwidth.
Yeah, totally. So, oh, go ahead.
I think I know like Yuju was reviewing. So Yuju, are you still up for reviewing it in 131?
So Yuju and Tim Hopper.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Tim is already reviewing that one. So
okay.
Yeah.
Great. I guess we can skip over it for now and then go back to your presentation, Marcus, to get more details. Move on to the next one.
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. Here I pull image with progress. Oh, Big Sasha's here. Is the other person who's, I don't know who this is. Alexi, I see. Is Alexi here? Or someone who wants to speak on his behalf?
I think this KEP is stuck where some issues were raised during the PRR review, like related to scalability. And I honestly think that this should be split into two separate KEPs or two stages at least. The first stage where we get parity with what we had with Docker shim. And then we think about whether we really need granular updates like on the progress somewhere.
Cool. So let's leave this in maybe, and we'll see if we get to some sort of better design consensus in this round.
Yep.
Sweet. Cool. So the legacy DRA, not structured parameters, we've left it here because there is some work that could still be done, but Ronald, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so the KEPs are being reorganized to make the classic DRA as an extension of structured params, and it's going to continue to stay in alpha. So mainly some KEP organization work here.
Cool. So we'll
stays in
gotcha.
alpha. Yeah, the enhancements will be updated. That's it.
Cool. Are we going to be making progress? Right.
Sorry. Yeah, it'll stay in alpha, so we can. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I asked if we were going to be making progress. So is this one accurate?
So it's gonna. I mean, if updating the enhancement is working on it, then we should say yes. But it's gonna stay in alpha. Feature-wise, there's gonna be no changes there.
Well,
Okay.
there will be code changes because we are going to introduce
the feature gate
yet another
change,
feature gate.
Yes.
No.
Right. Yep. That's a good call. Yep.
Cool. Next up, someone's actively filling this in. Pod level resource limits. Who is our anonymous hamster?
David Porter. I know you were looking into it. I'm not sure if it's being actively looked at.
I am actually looking at it,
Okay.
and this is I changed the priority also to medium. So I'll be working on the KEP and also trying to get to the alpha stage if the KEP is approved in 131.
Yeah, I think that may be a stretch. Maybe just getting to a KEP could be a goal. I think this is also a big one where we'll have to consider a lot of cases. So I'm not very optimistic that we can actually reach agreement on the design and also land on alpha. Maybe just making KEP progress will be a good goal for this one.
Okay, sounds good. I mean, for now, I have added both KEP and alpha, but I'll only be targeting the KEP then.
Yep.
Cool. Can I mark you as the owner here then?
Yes, please.
Cool. And folks can fill out reviewer and approver as we sort of have the KEP more defined, I think. Unless someone wants to volunteer now. I don't know why. Cool. Moving on to quota short ephemeral storage. So I meant to talk to Paco about this, who I assume is not here because it's like 2 in his time. But we can actually move forward on this because user namespaces are in beta, and it kind of would, to work in the way that you'd expect it, we kind of need pods to be in a user namespace. So I wanted to talk to Paco and see if we wanted to revive this one in this release, which we could do if we wanted to. But I'm not totally positive we'll push forward on this, but we might, at least update the KEP and sort of modernize it a little bit because it has kind of languished in beta for a while, or in alpha for a while. Like made it to beta for a second and then it got reverted at some point. But yeah, so let's just say that one. Does anyone have any questions there?
Yes, we may do some tests
Paco.
in this release cycle, I think. Maybe.
Cool, yeah. Tests also, and I also, Paco, had the idea of doing a similar thing that we did to proc mount type, where we tie the feature to the presence of user namespaces, because it doesn't really work if the pod isn't in a user namespace. But we can talk about that offline and sort of present it as a KEP.
Okay.
Cool, thank you. Next up is user namespace. The main feature won't make any progress because it just made it to beta, but Mrinal and I did talk about how there is a remaining piece in the pod security policy that needs to be sort of that we want to move forward with. So there will be a little bit of work, but sort of the main feature is going to sit in alpha, at least for this release.
So the main will be in beta. Yeah.
Yeah. Did any of the owners of this one? I don't know if anyone's here. None. So maybe we'll promote the second feature gate to beta if it seems to be in that state.
So I think we need to talk more with Jordan and David, but the idea was to never promote that feature gate. It was supposed to be just alpha and then dropped. So details to be figured out.
Cool. Sounds good. Anything else here? Cool. This next one is David Porter and I. So a little bit of a update here. We're pushing to have I'm actually actively testing the cryo support in 130. So we'll actually have a version of the CRI that has full support for the metrics piece of this. I've also been working with someone on getting the containerd support, though I'm not sure how long that's going to take. But theoretically, we could start pushing to beta and at least have it maybe off by default, but work, set up with cryo so that folks can use it and, start moving in that direction and move away from the cAdvisor stats provider. There shouldn't be that much code change needed in Kubernetes itself. It's mostly just in the CRI implementation. So the push to beta should be fairly simple if the CRI implementations work as expected. So yeah, so I intend on opening a KEP update at least for this, assuming we get the changes into cryo for 130. Yeah, I don't expect a whole lot of work to be done here, but hopefully just moving it forward symbolically. There are no other thoughts here. We do need a reviewer, so if anyone wants to look at this, I mean, it's not super high on our priority list, but if you want to volunteer, feel free to put yourself in here.
Yeah, you can put myself.
Oh yeah. Cool. Thank you. Next up, we have split image file system. So yeah, Kevin, you want to update us?
Yeah, 1.31. I will be on leave for most of 1.31, so that's why it's a question of who will take it over. But generally, that feature, we're waiting on an update. We're waiting on cryo 1.30 bump, and then to get the end-to-end tests in order. There was an issue with cryo around C storage, causing some problems with just simple end-to-end testing. And we decided just to fix forward, and we want to stay in alpha and pending the end-to-end tests being successful. The goal would have been 1.31 promoting to beta, but we'll see how that's kind of the main state of that one. So I don't know. I think it's maybe, I guess, Peter, as a call out to you. I don't know.
Yeah, I put myself there, and so either me or someone else, maybe on our team, could pick it up. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's kind of down here, but it's not super high priority, but it's worth sort of pushing forward if we can. And you've done a lot of the work up front for the alpha pieces anyway, so you know it shouldn't be that much work to push us to 131 beta and 131 theoretically.
Yeah, I have the PRs for the Indian test working. I also have the test infra stuff in place. It's just cryo update, really, and then making sure that all works in the end. That's really what's left over for that one for alpha.
Yeah, it's the second cap that we're discussing that has bigger cryo support than containerd, and not that much interest from containerd side. For this specific one, do we have anything on containerd at all, or just purely cryo implementation?
That wasn't
I
a
don't
call
know
out for alpha, but yeah, I have talked a little bit with some people in containerd when I was working on a blog post around that, but I think that there is work needed in the containerd side, and I don't know if the use case is that strong yet to make them to have that implementation done yet.
Yeah, that's right. We don't explicitly block it, but we haven't implementation of this as of yet in any of our extensions.
And also note, like the way that this kept works is mostly just like teach kubelet how to react to the CRI doing this. So it's not even like the kubelet would be telling something from on high, like CRI, you need to set up the image file system this way. It's mostly like kubelet can handle the situation. So if, you know, cryo is set up this way or containerd ever learns how to set itself up this way, then the kubelet will react correctly. But it's not as much of a feature. Like, I mean, CRI stats, for instance, is kind of a feature where like the CRI needs to be taught how to like respond to certain, you know, calls to be able to populate the information correctly. The image, the separate image file system is more like kubelet is reacting to different information in the image status, and you know, kind of handling that better.
Okay, so I mean, generally, we need to ensure that current implementation works without any surprises, and then APIs are generic enough that in future we will be able to implement. That's why like having two implementations is generally beneficial. Having one implementation may end up being very specific to how runtime works. Yeah, anyway,
totally. And
as well. Yeah.
From my understanding of the implementation, it's just, you know, the kubelet is intuiting the, you know, the disk from the image status request, which is something it did already. It's just like, it's sort of sanctifying this separate image file system as an option. And so I like to think that it was designed in such a way that it isn't super cryo specific. Like containerd could do this if they were motivated to do it, and it wouldn't like, you know, sort of break any of the invariants that it has. But it's just kind of more a priority for us. So we've done it first.
Yeah, I mean, the main issue is that it is possible to configure your container runtime to split the file system, and then kubelet will effectively no longer garbage collect the images. And it's sort of, you can get it, I mean, you could get into this state pretty without this feature. And that's sort of why we want to try to make sure that if this does happen, and we have been getting a lot of like separate file system stuff coming up, and that's why we went. And so we hope that alpha, beta, we can kind of demonstrate this more and have it working, and then we acknowledge that I think beta to GA promotion we don't want to have just cryo support for this.
Okay, thank you.
Sweet. Next up, this one's mine. We will not make any progress because we made it just to beta in 130. So we're going to let a little bit of soak time and follow the convention of at least 2 releases in beta before GA. So nothing to do there. Sidecar. Sergey, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, this is in beta, and we probably will wait another release till all supported versions support sidecars in one form or another, and then we can move forward to GA. There is no known issues or no blockers, besides one thing that we added as a feature, the separate cap. Yeah, so this is just waiting for another release.
Cool. Easy. Kubelet cert rotate. We need someone to pick this up for the same reason as the split file system. So if anyone is interested in picking this up, sign up. Otherwise, you might not make any progress this release.
Yeah, I think generally I probably will ask someone to pick it up. I try to make progress on this one, but there were questions about the design of this that like I can't answer because I know very little about kubelet certificate rotations and why this feature was created. And the motivation for for me is not very high, to be honest, because it's beta, and I think essentially we're going to have to get some people from SIG off to really help us with the design decisions on this one. Because that was it. The blocker was there was a retrospective KEP where they wanted the design decisions written up front. And that's kind of hard for someone picking up to get. That was not involved in the design.
Yeah, this feature is also very poorly covered with end-to-end tests, with any test to that matter.
Yeah, I did take it to SIG off, and then David Eads said that this could be covered by integration tests. What I tried to do this release was promote alpha metrics to beta, but even that was wasn't controversial, but there were questions about the usefulness of the metrics, which I could not really answer. And that's kind of why it stalled, and then other things came up. So yeah, I would suggest I would probably ask someone else to take a look at if they are interested or if they have a more clear idea of why we went this route, because I don't.
Yeah, and I highlighted in our annual report that we have few of those, like old caps that don't get enough priority to clean up, but widely used in production in different systems. So yeah, if you want to volunteer, but your company like doesn't know what to invest into, this is one thing to invest. Peter, I think we need to remove Kevin's name from this and it open.
Cool. And I'll set this to no for now. If someone does want to champion it, they can pick it up. But I mean, I think given all the other sort of priorities we have, I'm wondering if it's going to end up being worked on. And anyone's welcome to prove me wrong. Okay. DI devices to device plugin API.
I think we were waiting for. Sorry.
But
This is actually waiting for Intel and NVIDIA to implement this in their plugins, and this work is ongoing. So most probably we will promote it to GA for the next release. So we'll work on it.
the next being 131 or 132.
And 131.
Cool. Sounds good. So it looks like we have all the people we need here. So that's good. Looking forward to GA. Tim, AppArmor support. Tim here.
Yeah, sorry, I'm unmuting. I plan to bring this to GA. It's basically a flag flip and nothing else. We completed everything we planned on doing for GA in the last release, but wanted to buffer it by a release since we're adding a new API. So
cool.
Yeah, I haven't heard any concerns over moving this to GA. It hasn't actually rolled out in 130 yet, so I guess the caveat is if we get any negative feedback, but I don't expect any problems here.
Cool. Maybe put this to yes for now, and then we can reevaluate. But it sounds like we should be ready to go. Be good to clean this up. Awesome. We also need a reviewer. I would volunteer, but I'm not at all familiar with AppArmor. So if that's a domain that you have more familiarity with, use a volunteer here. Cool. Dynamic node resize. Karthik here. Doesn't look like it. So this one.
I know that there will be another cap, or maybe it's already in the list that changes kube and kube reserved values. So it's kind of like part of this, but like addressing very small scenario, subset of scenario. I don't know if anybody on the call who suggested that.
I added this to the table. I'm interested to learn the progress and whether there's any people pushing this forward. I also included the two reviewers interested in this feature.
I think we can mark dynamic node resize as no, and then there'll be another one that is kind of a small subset of features that can be explored.
Okay.
Cool. Sounds good. Static policy option. Does anyone who's in this box want to
I think PR was open and
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just wanted to say that I am reviewing that. Looks very good from my perspective. I need to have a final pass, but looks good to me. Problem with this work, the proposer is very active, and the only problem to make progress is we lack an approver. So if we have anyone which wants.
I think maybe we can check with Kevin because he'll be the natural one to approve this one. I can be the backup.
Okay. I will ping him on the SIG Node on Slack. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Affinity-based eviction. So we just need.
This was from last release. I don't know where that went. It might actually be up again. I brought it to SIG Node because there was a request for some SIG Node reviewers, or really they wanted SIG Node approvers to approve from the SIG Node side, but I think it's stalled in the SIG scheduling side. I think you flipped the right one.
Yeah, so we can keep watching it. So it's maybe, it doesn't seem like we'll have all that much involvement. I don't know. I'm having trouble seeing everyone, but it's Don in the room, so no, it doesn't look like it. So if we should check if Don is prepared to be the SIG Node champion here, but other than that, we can just continue to watch. Cool. more granular probes.
So let's see what happens in worker serving. The new AI patterns, if this goes up in priority. But for now, this is fine being at this level.
Do you see much use of it for AIML workload, for inference workload?
Yeah, sure. When you're depending on the type of use case you have, that's where this becomes more interesting when it's very short-lived pods. If a pod's only going to live for a second and a half, you don't want to wait that extra couple of seconds, right? For the probe first to get live and then to go away.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily sub-second. We should probably retitle this to, more specific times. Right? It could be a half second. It could be a second and a half. It's not necessarily just sub-second. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good. Let's see what the result of that is, and we can sort of adjust the priority if needed.
So I think we are past the 40-minute mark. How many more do we have?
Another couple of pages, but they're all, the low priority or the new ones. So
yeah, maybe we go back.
I think it makes sense.
Agenda.
Yeah, and then we can come back to this at a similar sort of next week. Cool.
Peter, if you can, in the chat, I have put an issue there, which I don't know if you can review it and check. I put it in the chat. It's about the denial of service. I mean, for the next time, if you can add it.
Cool. If you'd like to add it to, are you proposing a new cap for it, basically, for this issue?
Yes, I think it was an issue, and I think the discussion ended up that it might become a feature, and I think it's important. I've seen it I can replicate the issue. Yeah. So what do you recommend me to do? Should I add it in the SIG node for?
Should this be a bug fix or a enhancement? This should be a bug fix to me. Maybe I need to.
It's a little more complicated, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I propose we talked about this at the SIG Node CI meeting a couple weeks back, and I think we came to the loose consensus that it was kind of more of a feature.
Correct.
So I think that's debatable, but I think generally we don't have like cancellation of the image pull sort of as a feature that we kind of set ourselves up for. So it could be considered a bug. I don't know. I think it's worth talking about. I think probably having it as an agenda item and talking about it as a group, here would be a good strategy, and then we could figure out what we should do with it, whether it be a cap or a
okay.
Bug
Sounds
fix.
good. Thanks.
I yield the floor to Sergey and Mernal to run the rest.
So, Kira, do you want to run the agenda? I can do it.
Sure. Let me get my screen back up. So the first one was the memory swap. I don't think Itamar is here because of the time zone issues, but Kevin, did you want to talk about what we're thinking about this right now?
Yeah, did you get a chance to clean up that doc at all?
No, I did not. That's a great point.
How about we just table this one for the next one? We have I mean, the gist was I think this is something we want to tackle in 1.31. There's still some consensus to be gathered. So yeah, let's move it to the next one.
Yeah.
If Amar or you.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I'll fix up that document and we can present sort of our thoughts next week. That sounds good. Thank you. Anish, release report.
Hi. Good. I had brought this up in the SIG Node CI meeting as well. Just wanted to bring this up in this meeting. So today for SIG Node in this SIG Node CI, we run various jobs with different configs. For example, like containerd cryo or like serial or like parallel tests. It's kind of difficult to keep track of which SIG Node end-to-end tests are flaky across this different dashboard tabs. Basically, I created a small script which aggregates test results from various dashboard tabs, and yeah, this is basically a list of end-to-end tests that are flaky. This particular list is mainly like release blocking tests that are flaky right now, and around like 10% of them are like more than 1% flaky. Yeah, just wanted to bring this up. Like this can be like a baseline for like 130 release, and maybe with help of the community, we can hope to increase, make this better for 1.31 release. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. This is a cool table. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. Neat.
So if you have energy to contribute to deflaking test, please pick a test from this list and help.
Yeah, I'll file bugs as well. Create an umbrella for bugs. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, there are too many flakes. More than 1% for this job is a little bit on the higher side.
Yeah, especially for ones that purport to be release blocking. I feel like this is not a very good look. Cool. Thank you. Next up, James.
Hey, so yeah, I brought this a couple or a month ago or so, but this is where the stats summary is returning 0 with containerd because multiple calls end up getting the usage nanostats every single time, which results in a 0 value because it's supposed to be calculated over time period. So Peter, you put together some proposals, and there's some general like direction potentially that Cry should handle this. And it seems like Cryo does handle this. And so I opened up a PR on containerd to fix this, but had some questions. There were some additional questions and question whether or not this was actually the direction we wanted to go. And so I was hoping that we could get some more conversation around that.
Totally. Yeah, I think I personally like this direction because, you know, in the CRI API, we defined a timestamp field for this purpose so that the, you know, collection period could be offset from the timing, or not for this very purpose, but like, you know, the collection period of the kubelet can be offset from the time that the CRI sort of does the collection, which means that the CRI is sort of responsible for the frequency of collection. Which, you know, it can be configured to collect immediately, or it can be configured to collect periodically. But because it's like the cadence is up to it, I feel like the sort of this rate calculation should also be up to it. Was there any pushback? Like, what was I haven't actually stayed caught up with this containerd issue, but was there pushback to that idea, or is it just like,
No,
sure?
Yeah, I think it was more just making sure that this was the direction that SIG Node wanted it to go with this KEP. I think it was Mike Brown. I think he's on the call if he wants to chime in. Or he was earlier.
Yeah, we can set up a call to discuss it. It basically just means that Containerd did a different kind of implementation about 6 years ago, Peter, and we just need to look at that and see if that was the right way to do it. And I realize we're changing direction, and that's probably good. And yeah, because the API changed, right? It's one of those things. What does it really make sense to check stats when you have an idle node? I think was my biggest question.
Yes, and yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think that's like imagining a world in which we actually have CRI stats be like the only way to do stats in Kubernetes. Like a lot of the design decisions were basing it off of what cAdvisor used to do, and cAdvisor does this, where it just is always polling no matter what the node is doing.
Right.
So like keeping that in mind, I would say that yes, like we should be constantly calculating it. I think it's worth questioning whether that's the correct direction, but to begin with, I think getting feature parity and sort of behavior parity with cAdvisor is like an important sort of direction for us to take.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to have the conversation if we can't do some kind of a setting on this. It makes sense to implement it one way when kubelet is doing this way, right? But then if I'm using, K3 or some other, user of the CRI API, then I may not want to take idle nodes, bring them back alive every 10 seconds to check stats. Just an implementation detail. Right?
Yeah. But I agree. We can set up a call and sort of come to consensus with this. We need to.
Yeah. Thanks, Peter.
All right. Thank you.
Alrighty. I don't know who this person is. Next up, eviction manager should check disk usage of bed containers. Bobinov. This might have just been someone might have just dropped this in to get some attention on it.
Yeah, there was. I remember this one. I know that they created a KEP, and I tried to ask, like, I wanted to get more clarity on the use case, and I haven't had a chance to really look into this one. I think it is a problem, it sounds like, but I don't know what the priority is for fixing it. Yeah, I mean, you could argue it's probably it could be considered a bug, but okay, if I remember right, I think it could be like in a pod, you might have dead containers that have finished running, and I don't know if the GC is going to take into account those if the pod isn't generally running. And I have to someone look into this one more. I don't know if it really needs a KEP or it's a bug fix or what. I think there's still some questions on this one.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who asked to create an enhancement, because it does toe that line between enhancement and bug.
And they have a
KEP.
Okay. Actually, they did open a KEP around this one. I think I tried to get more clarity on the use case before I went to reviewing the KEP. I didn't look for the link that closely, but
I have it. Indentation's weird though. Yeah, cool. So let's yeah, so does anyone have any sort of opinion on this, or should we take it offline? I think that this would be a good forum to talk about it, but you know, the original author isn't here, but I think we should, you know, could still give it our due diligence.
I have the KEP PR I linked, by the way. The author didn't link it with the issue.
Cool. It's also unclear to me whether this person, Ramanov, wants to work on it or wants someone else to work on it. So I think we also should probably determine who will be the champion of this issue.
They opened the KEP
regardless of how we
PR.
sort of deem it. Yeah. Oh, to open a full KEP. Okay, cool. I haven't seen that one yet. Yeah, I'm just seeing. Oh, I see it. Okay, cool. So maybe we add this to our list and see if it makes sense to work on or put energy towards. I think the KEP had a couple of reviews. The difficult part, I think also, I wonder if this person is still actively thinking about it, because the KEP ER was opened in November and has just been marked as stale.
Fair enough.
And hadn't actually been updated since November. So yeah, so maybe potentially it's been abandoned. But yeah, we can see if we can try to reach out or something. But I'll add it to the KEP sort of list and see, just so that we're tracking it and we have, you know.
So a quick time
Cool.
check. So we have 3 minutes remaining. Marcus and Zvonko, sorry, are you guys okay if we move your agenda to the top of next meeting?
Yeah, please move us. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can start
3
with that.
minutes is,
Yeah,
let's do that. Yeah.
Cool.
And I think same
then,
for the other two items as well. Maybe not enough time. So
yeah, I think they're probably not. Dixie or Laura, are both of you okay being bumped?
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah,
Well,
maybe next
could,
time we start with this and then we go back to the remaining caps. So that way we get on.
Yeah.
Enough time for these items. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Sounds great. Then that would conclude our SIG Node meeting. Thanks
for
everyone for
joining,
joining.
folks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.